Okay, good morning, guys. This is Simon with tradertough and Trading Perform Coaching doing the market preview for the 14th of August. Hold on one second here and we will get fired away. Let us get the... There we go. So just a quick disclaimer has to be posted up there. Past performance not indicative of future results. Trading derivatives comes with substantial risk. Make sure you have a risk trading plan and that you can sustain the losses that are inherent to trading futures. I'm sharing my trade plan with you in hopes that it makes you a better trader. Please don't follow me blindly. Make sure you have your own trade plan, your own risk parameters, and you understand what I'm trying to accomplish in my own trading. Let's see, this is for educational purposes only. I think I've given every disclaimer that needs to be given. Let's get on with the day. So number one, we're trading up a little bit, up 6.25 points. Home Depot had good earnings overnight. And I would guess that shorts are feeling some pain. Obviously, inventory is long coming into the overnight session. And I would suspect, hold on one second here. I would suspect it looks like, okay, I don't know what the deal is, but wow, it's unusual. I would suspect that we shake out that long inventory to start the day. It looks like they're already doing a little bit of shaking to start with. So the first thing I want to cover is what does the profile look like and how did we do last night? So in the Asian session, I didn't get a single trade off in the Asian session. Let me this out. There's the pointer. Why can I not drag this? It's still frustrating. So this was where we were trading the Asian session last night. This is when I finally was able to roll in right about at 7 o'clock. I got here about 7:30. So my first goal was to short 28.32. It just didn't tag. We missed by 2 ticks. It was a good trade. It rolled down as you would anticipate that would roll down. The next goal was to get a long out of about 28.26, 28.26.25. I missed that by a tick as well. So when you have nights like that, the first thing that I always wonder when I'm looking at that is, well, what? Okay, so it's important to understand the areas were correct. I tend to be very pinpoint accurate and very specific on where I want my entries because I have tight stops in Asia. And when you just missed by 2 ticks here, you missed by a tick over here, you just kind of shrug your shoulders and go, well, okay, I had the right idea on the short. I had the right idea on the long. I couldn't put it all together to make it all work. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Where the problem comes in is where someone goes, well, I think it might be short here, or you start guesstimating where it's going to be short. And you'll notice, unless you're at a key area, you don't get a big enough rotation to make Asia work is the key to that. So anyways, that's my 2 and 3 cents. You know, it's so odd, Stan, that no one's logging into the meeting, that what I think I'm going to do is restart the meeting and set a new link because the guys that are regulars that are here like clockwork are not showing up. I got to believe there's a I got to believe there's a problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reset the GoToMeeting really quick. I'll post a link again and we'll go from there. Give me 1 second. So I'm going to kill this meeting and start a new one. 1 sec here. YouTube guys, it'll be just fine to stay on. Meeting for all. Yes. Start. GoToMeeting. Meet now. Okay. Let's see if I can get this fixed really quick. Median ID is, if you'll bear with me for just a second, we'll have everything up and running. Excuse me. We'll move this over here, or we won't. There we go. Okay, now we're in business. So at any rate, long story short, I just didn't get my links. You see, I would have gotten another shot right around midnight for a quick 2 points out of the 28.32. It tagged it to the tick. I don't know if it would have gotten filled. That's where I was trying to get short. Didn't work. This whole area is resistance. I would assume that it's now going to act as support. And you can see once we broke above, backside test back into the 28.32 resulted in a 6-point rotation up. And now we've gotten back underneath 28.32 to 28.36. I still think that remains as the key area for the overnight trade. I mean, this 38.36 remains the key for the day, and there's resistance above. And you can see when we're barely making it, it's just like we're not getting up to resistance areas and it's falling just short. It's lack of energy associated with summertime trading, and that's all there is to it. Hold on one second here. Hold on one second. It's just odd that no one's able to jump. There we go. Okay, it is working. Okay. So let's keep going. So at any rate, in Asia, I didn't get any trades off because it just didn't pan out, right? So what do we expect for today? The same levels, key levels, still hold. I still expect that 28.26 to give a response back to the upside, maybe test a 24-hour VWAP. And then we're starting to trade. If you look at the profile here, let me see if I have to clean up this chart. Okay, so this is a look on the weekly time frame on this chart, and you can see we held above. So first get a picture of the weekly, right? See where that point of control is down there on the weekly? I'm going to show you right here, right? See how we tested down into it yesterday and couldn't break? That's that 27 to 25.75, right? So if that were a daily profile, that's the weekly profile, the first thing you're going to notice is we need to break that double bottom in order to be bearish, right? That's sitting essentially at 28.20. We haven't been able to do that, right? The next thing is, if you'll notice, we're now, if this were a daily chart, I'd be just going, look at this value area, look at this value area. It's acting as support. No charts. Okay, screen. How's that now? Good, Stan? Okay, sorry for the technical areas. See how this area is acting as support, and we opened above. Look at how this, look how yesterday worked out. We opened into this and we're unable to get below, both in Asia and during the US session, right? So the first thing I'm going to say about that when I look at that chart, right, is I'm going to go, hey, I've got to get below. It becomes abundantly clear, right? 1, 2, 3. And if we look at the weeks on that in that area, look how that constantly became a trap area, right? Backside test, push, right? Look at it during last week. We came down, we responded back up, we got underneath, backside tested, rejected, came back in, pushed above, backside test, pushed, got underneath, right? Then Monday we tested it 2 times and pushed. This 28.25.75 to 28.27.25 has become pretty important over the last, now we're heading into week 4, right? Week 1, and we can look a little bit deeper than that. Right, so what about on the other side? What was there? Well, look at the same area. Look how that 28.26.75, look how that whole area on the backside tests, rejection, rejection, rejection. We finally rolled lower. We finally close above on the week of 8-2, backside test the following week, and that's what launched us to the upside. See that? So it becomes important from a weekly perspective to understand this 28.25 to 28.27, even if they trade through it, right? Notice how we haven't been able to get a close below that level. So if you're bearish, which I've seen a lot of people come out and be bearish, you got to get the close below in order to make the trade work to the downside. That's all there is to it. Okay. So that's my first observation. I'm going to treat that as support until broken, right? Meaning until I get a close underneath 28.26, I'm going to assume that holds. That doesn't mean I'm going to hold buy 28.26 and hold to 28.15 or 28.12. I'm just going to look for responses out of that area because it's clear from a weekly perspective that's become an important location. I have it marked in my notes. I'm cognizant of it. Those areas tend to get very choppy. If you'll notice when we're back over here, look how many times it tests it back and forth, tests underneath, right? If you look the prior week to that, here, I'm going to show you because it's important that you understand what it looks like in that area, right? So sometimes it's quick rejection. Sometimes it's closed right into that area, right? Look how each week treated that area. So remember, these are weekly bars, right? So, and then finally on the breakout, you'll see that we push in, get initial rejection, finally close below, backside test, break it a little bit, get back above and push. So I'm looking for the algo to trigger me in, both long and short in that area, but I'm going to assume that the longs are going to defend until it's clear, like maybe a 10-point move below, that they can't hold that area any longer. That would be my conclusion from looking at that trade, looking at that chart from a weekly basis. It's really important area. So let's go translate that into the daily chart. So I'm going to duplicate this chart so I can erase all my pretty lines. Cancel. Duplicate chart. There we go. Okay, and let's erase all lines here. Okay, so the first thing that I'm noticing is it's a little bit different picture on the daily from the weekly. So here's that 28.26. Here's that 27 to 25. That is 27. Here's 25. Okay, so you'll see we closed right into that support yesterday, right? Poked our head a little bit underneath, got back above. So what are the key areas? So first of all, I'm going to look at that chart and go, okay, that right there is the most important area on the chart for me. That 26.41.75 is the most important area on that chart. Why is it the most important? Because the Monday's chart is repaired there. So what am I looking for? I am looking for, if this is that level, I want to see it establish above, right? So I expect an initial rejection out underneath. And if the market's weak, that'll be the rejection. So this is an important nuance. When the market is weak, right, we just reject out of the anomaly. We never bother getting above and below. When the market's strong, right, and this frustrates people, so you have to know how it looks in both situations so you understand how to trade it. In a weak market, we just push in, push out, and go. That's what we did. So that's why when you're looking to the long side quite often, the anomaly here will provide a big rotation up because we're in a bull market, right? Versus when the shorts come up, you have to make sure that you establish above, right? Just even holding for 5 or 10 minutes is enough. Establish back underneath, then get the backside test. That's your trade for the short to the downside, right? That's when you know you have the potential for a big extension down, right? So I'd like to see the market, if I was going to short, I'd be very highly aware of that 28.41.75. I don't want to short 28.41.75. What I want to see is it get above, get back below, and then I'm be willing to press that second test in for a short to the downside if it sets up properly, right? So what about what's in between? If you look what's in between, markets like to repair holes in the profile. This is a glaring hole in the profile right there. It's marked off on that. So what you'll look is we got a unique setup on this profile. Okay, you have the anomaly. 2832 is the anomaly, hole in profile, right? And then you got to figure out. So that becomes hard when you're charting before you see the profile. So now it's pretty obvious. Hey, that 28.35.75 was pretty money overnight, but you got to figure it out. The 28.32 area served as resistance all the way through Asia. Then in Europe, we came up to the 28.35, 28.36 area, which Globex high, I believe, is 28.38.75 is Globex high. So they elected to push all the way through, where did we get to? We got to 38.75. Wow, it doesn't seem like we got that high to me, but apparently it doesn't matter because I would be wrong about that. The chart says we did. I just don't see. Sure enough. So if you look at how we treated that, rejection from 32, rejection from 32, push up to the hole in the profile, that's 36. See how we stutter stepped it there? They tried to get above, they held. So this is Europe's attempt to fill in the volume, right? Notice how we couldn't get underneath a positive green bar, this bar here to the left. See how that was the biggest delta right there, that 1200 was the biggest overnight delta to that point. I'm going to stretch this out. I'm pointing to this right here. That was the biggest overnight delta. Notice how that acted as support all the way through. We're now underneath that. So now we start that whole process. What people have a hard time with is understanding is this was all European and Asian. We start that whole process with the same zones all over again. So yes, I'm looking for a rejection out of this hole actually at this 34 to 36 included with this anomaly. And then I'm looking for rejection down. If we can, I'd like to see an above, below, and backside test, right? This is still, as far as I know, actually, I take it back. This became the biggest delta afterwards. This is the biggest positive delta. This is the biggest negative delta. It all makes sense that it's plugging in that area. And what I would have wanted to wait for, it's a great example, right? See how we get the biggest negative delta, biggest positive delta. See how we couldn't close underneath that biggest positive delta and it acted as support all night long? It's important to recognize this was your strongest buyer overnight. You have to get underneath him. And it makes sense that this was your strongest buyer because we rejected that 32 and 32, well, close to the 32, within 2 ticks 2 times. You squeezed all the shorts out on that bar, and then the weaker hands just covered as they pushed up. Stronger hands waited for the backside test and covered. And now we're back underneath that area and we reset for the US session, right? So going back to that chart. Okay, so going back to the chart, I'm cognizant of this whole area as being important. I'd like to see an over-under at this 28.41 to whatever this number is here. Let me erase this really quick and get specific. $28.39.50 to $28.41.75 should see resistance. And like I said, I'd like to see a trade above, trade underneath, backside test, and I'm willing to short this area. If we get above this area, okay, understand this begins an unauctioned area here at that 28.43. So see how last time we pushed just above Friday's high and rejected out of it. So now that same PA is possible here. I want to show you all that so you know what to look for. So the risk here, this is Dalton's gap fill right over here. You'll want to write that down on your notes. Okay, that's Dalton's gap fill. Here, we'll make it a different color. That's Dalton's gap fill. So usually the process is this. We push up, initial rejection, push to the mid, which would be roughly 28.48. We get some type of rejection there usually. And then what happens is we usually slow grind up all the way. And then they decide at 28.52 if they want to hold it. Behind 28.52, I'm giving you the levels and the targets above, right? Everyone knows I'm not exactly bearish. Wow, there we go. I'm not exactly bearish. That would be a miss. Okay, behind that, see that huge hole in the profile right there? It's not really denoted in the TPO, but there's clearly a low volume node sitting right here from a volume standpoint. I need to go check to make sure I caught that on the chart because it wasn't in the anomaly. I would add 54.75 to 56.25. Let's make sure I got that on the chart. Hold on one second here. I don't, but there's a value area low right there at 56. So let's go back through there. So I would pit 54.75 to 56.25, right? With specifically what I'd be looking for in that particular case. What I'd specifically be looking for is that 56.25, that untested value area low. So you have an open gap, you have a low volume node on the volume profile, and you have a value area low off the TPO. This area, between the settle gap and that value area low, that becomes a key area for getting rejection out of that location. And if you also look from where we closed last night, which I believe was 28.25, that would pitch you up roughly 30 points. This is a key area, and I'm looking for a rejection out of that area if we can get up there, okay? So now let's go cover the downside really quick. Pretty straightforward, right? So remember, first of all, in order to get in and test all this, you got to get above and hold above 28.4175 and in the first hour, right? So let's cover just the open for a second. If we don't get above and hold above 28.3375, banish all thoughts of a trend day up or a long at all out of there. Secondly, we're opening within range of the prior day's range, which is a wide area, right? Secondly, we're opening inside the balance area. What do I usually expect inside balance? This, right? Why is that important? Because if you take a long here and you go, boom, I've got it made, we're going to go straight up. Do not be shocked if it comes back and checks up on you, even breaks the low, then comes back up again. That's what's frustrating about an open auction. We're just checking up prices in a tight range. And the reason this frustrates traders, I'm going to tell you, someone will grab it here and go, oh, I think we're coming back up to 28.43. Let's say that's your thesis, right? Well, in all of this, you end up getting tagged out either for a small profit, right? Or you get mad that you've given up your profit, or you take it for a loss because they tag it for a new low. And then after the first hour, it starts doing this chug, chug, chug thing to target, and you go, I knew it. So in order to get this piece over here, you have to understand this piece over here and what the PA is likely to look like. We're inside value, expect open auction and to get tested on both sides of areas and for it to be choppy. That's what I would expect. Again, I don't trade the first half hour, so it's not an issue for me one way or another. And by the way, I just got a long trigger on bonds at 144 and 12/30 seconds, and I am trying to take that with a 6-tick stop on paper. Okay, this goes on paper. And so I'll use an 8-tick stop in this particular case, 12/6. I will use 4/30 seconds as the stop on that. I got a momentum long. I'll show you all that in just a second. And hold on one second. I want to do that in
order filled.
there you go. And let me turn that off. Hold on a second here. And I got to do one other thing. Hold on a second here. For guys in the room, I'll show you all that setup in a second. Let me grab. Again, the bonds are new, right? And it's paper trading for the first week. So, but this is a valid long. Why did we roll on the bonds and I've got a different, that's not possible. Hold on a second here. I'll tell you. Chart settings, we may have. Nope. Why do I have a different quote on this? That's odd. Okay, I'll figure that out on the other machine in just a second. At any rate, I got a trigger at 12/30 seconds for a long. So long story short, on the bottom end, right? Inside this value, what do I want to look for going to the short side? Here, I'll show you. Value area low. If I consolidate under this thing for an hour, right? And my stop in this case, remember 25.26 is off the weekly, right? So if I consolidate under this thing for an hour, that's what opens this up to test lower. The lower levels are already on there, but if you look what's off to the left, it's been a little while since we've been back here. Let's say it's 28.22. So that brings up, right, hole in profile. This is where I'm looking for a response, which you'll notice is right underneath that 28.22. So I expect a response. If we get underneath that, there's another little tiny hole right here. I would expect a response out of that 1350.12. And then if you look, this chart is technically repaired at 28.0250 to 28.0450. I don't like the way this chart looks down here. It would be relatively easy to trade through this. So you want to put that in your notes. And we have a weak low at 27.9475. If we get down here, I expect this to go. Now, what that means is it could simply break by a point and repair, and that would be good enough. But like I said, I would expect that to go if that tests. I got to check something here real quick. I apologize. Got it. I see what's going on there. No problem. Okay. So what I was going to say is I would expect or suspect that I won't worry about that right now. That if we get underneath this 2812, that we're actually going to test this 2794. That 2802, 2804 is valid support down there. And you can see there's almost no volume on the profile. There's no nodes down in this location. It makes it easy to trade through. What's next to the left? You go down there and we look carefully. You can see there's actually a decent low here. Volume's really thin. And again, you can see there's a low volume node right before a little build, but it's not significant. You keep trucking, swing low. People are going to look for that, right, to trap. And finally, if you'll notice what we see how there's just nothing behind here. That's the final anomaly, that 2790, 91. There's a zone there that needs to be repaired from 712. And then if you look, the next area, see how we just missed testing this volume point of control and this TPO point of control at 81.79. I don't think we can get there because we're trading so far away from it. But when it gets here, we should find a response in this area and also repair that weak low at 27.82.75. So those are the areas on the charts, guys. There's not much else I have to say about that. Other than that's what I would expect to find the market attempting to do is come in and just repair areas. There's just not a lot of clarity as to whether we're long or short. So there's someone that there's a guy out there that I don't trust, but he's a good trader. Let's put it that way, right? And he was talking about how he expects 2,800 fairly soon. Part of the problem when you're looking short is that and I repeat this over and over again, right? These constant pushes back up, right? Imagine someone who has a goal, right, of 2,800 over the last couple of days, right? So his goal is 2,800. He knows he has a 20 or 30 point potential trade to the downside. And look how many times he's gotten squeezed up. Like if he shorted here perfectly, right, he got squeezed all the way out just to stop him above. Then last night he's like, okay, now we're on our way, 28.20, all the way back to 28.36. It is hard to short the S&P 500 and stick it. Now, obviously, this would have made a nice short. We actually did catch this short yesterday. I just didn't catch it for very many points, right? We actually caught this short perfectly. Wait. Yeah, that's yesterday. We caught this short to the downside. We caught this short to the downside too, right? But notice that anyone who's tried to hold, so whenever you see someone go, boom, I shorted 28.36 and I got 2,800, just remember, they're probably not leveraged, because if you think about it, even a professional trader who's leveraged is not going to go, yeah, I'm willing to let this trade come all the way back against me for 15 or 20 points. There's just not many traders out there who'll do that, right? If they are doing it, okay, I want to repeat this. If they are doing it, they will, hold on 1 second. There we go. If they are doing that, they're doing it from a very low leveraged or cash position, okay? That's all there is to it. If they are doing it, they're doing it from a cash position. They are not using mucho leverage. It's just too freaking hard. So here we are pushing up against, again, I guess I settled on a 36.32. I don't know why I left this out, but this should be, let's see something here real quick. This whole area is valid. So I don't know why I don't have that 32.50. I apologize because I posted that chart. So please fix that. Oh, there it is. Wait a minute. I'm on the wrong chart. There we go. That was for 12. This is for, there we go. Where, oh, 8.14. There we go. There we are. Okay. Sorry about that. You can see we tested right into value area high, 32, 36. We're rejecting out of that. That's normal. I would expect that. I'm looking for responsive buyers at 26 at the 26 level. If we get underneath this 25, 26, right, you got to jump the value area low. But see how we're whipping back and forth in here already? Okay, that's normal because you translate that into this, into this, right? And you are inside prior day's value area. If we can get over here, hold on. You are opening inside prior day's value area and you expect two-sided whippy action, and that is exactly what you're getting. So those are my plans for the day, is after the first half hour to look for my trade setups, and then we'll use the algo to trigger us in. I'm looking for the biggest delta prints of the day, and we'll go from there. Home Depot's numbers were good. I'm not exceedingly bearish on the market at all. We'll just have to see. I'm not bullish either, but I'm definitely not bearish, right? And it's important that you understand that when you look at the profile, right? If we erase everything, again, I got to remind everybody so you don't get bearish. This chart, right? If you look at that chart and you go, wow, I'm bearish. Okay, great. Yes, you may get this roll down. But if you look, even from this roll down, right? Look where you ran into support right over here. And look how you had to break this last little lip in order to get, see how the rotations increased dramatically in size here to the left, right? If you look at this lip over here, see how it held that support, then it broke. See how it came right to the bottom of that structure, attempted to break but found support, and then look at the push from there. Okay, so if you were clever, yeah, you had a 50-point potential short rotation here, but it was brief and shortened period. This whole thing, right? The major part of the roll down lasted right in here. And look at how few days, see those little orange arrows in there? Look how few days closed on the low in that area. And that's where the bulk of the breakdown came. And almost there was 1-2 days that kind of came close to the low, but most of those days closed at the high. And that was the meat of where the rotation expanded hugely to the downside, right? So, there's responsive buyers in this whole block. Why? Because that's where we launched from last time. So what that tells me is, just like on the day chart, I've got to get below this support level right there to have any kind of significant breakdown. And guess what? I would expect these guys to step back up again the second time. I want to see a clear break underneath, then wait for a backside test. And if I got the backside test here and it's set up, then I want to go in and crunch those guys as hard as I possibly can for a move to the downside. But not until then. I prefer to be trading the long side of the trade. Obviously, both my trades were short yesterday, so I'm willing to take short side trades. But I want the long side of the trade over the short side of the trade. And last night was a good example. If we could have gotten 28.26, it'd have been pretty easy just to lay back and let it grind all the way up to 28.36. Okay, next point that I wanted to bring up, I will continue to set up the trades. So here's a challenge for my bigger traders, which I have a lot of bigger traders. I will continue to lay out what the arguments are for the pushes to the upside. I will continue with my challenge to trade a small account, and I will call those trades out. Just remember, on small accounts, I'm looking for 2 points and I'm done. I don't care about the RR. I know it's big and important. I care about the entry being very specific and my risk being very well managed. That's what I care about. So long story short, that's my story for the day. I want to see if we can get below value area low. I expect it to be whippy inside of yesterday's value area. And I'm looking for the biggest deltas to go off so I can go and capture those and get paid. So, and as of right now, the biggest delta is this session so far is the first bar, which was 1068. We have this bar to the left. Actually, I take it back. It is this over here. Let's go and get to work on this. So, first of all, delta is overall green. Biggest delta of the day is, and my data feed's different, but it's slightly off from one to the other, but it's this guy right here. You got to get above this guy now to push above, right? And if we don't, we'll come down, and I'm looking for just like yesterday, I'm looking for the biggest deltas to print and get above or below them. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, and I expect that to work all day long. On your small accounts, limit your losses. Be very specific where you're willing to enter. And once you get your entries down, you can start to focus on your exits, right? On the smaller accounts, you don't have to take 2 points every time. But I'm cognizant on a smaller account, the whole point is to walk out of the day with money, right? And that's what I intend to show by doing that top step challenge. I got to get that account set up, and I'll have that done today. But that's what I intend to show, how that can be done. We're just hitting and running, right? Just like right now, I have $250 in risk on this bond trade. I took it at 12.30 seconds. I have $250 in risk, and I'm using a wider stop than I normally do for the test period. But normally that stop would be 6 ticks, would be closer to $187 per contract, right? And the idea there is when the RR pays off in bonds, you can get a 2-to-1. So I would be looking for 12 ticks up, right? And 12 ticks up would give me almost $500 to the $200 that I'm risking, right? So there'll be some stumbles in there as I get this thing going, but it should work beautifully. I'm pretty confident day over day I can nail these guys. So anyways, that's my 2 cents. Guys on YouTube, thanks for joining. We're inside, we're open auction, and we're chopping. That's not anything new from the last 3 weeks. Wait for the stretch, get the big delta, wait for the backside test, and get paid. So anyways, that's my 2 cents. Have a great day, guys, and I will be in the room in just a second.